like the drama. We love the drama, so. All right. So hello everyone. We are live and on air. Oh, wait. I can hear myself. Air. Oh no, I can't. Shh, me. Shh. Very loud. I forgot I had the page where, people were talking up, and it's, well, now I know we're live for sure.
You're talking at yourself.
Again, I was yelling at myself. So hello, thank you guys, everybody, for coming out. We've already got Dark Rose 1870 and Ravenclaw 1280, as well as my friend David from Box Games. Hello, Dave. Mary Heron has joined us here as well. So yay, wonderful. I'm so excited. Once again, welcome to Classy Chicks of Vintage Flicks. My name is Jennifer. I'm from A Vintage Vanity. And with me, as always, are the classiest of chicks. We have Heather from How to Be Fancy.
Hello, everybody.
And we have JL from Modern Retro Gal.
Hey, everyone. I have allergies. Real bad tonight.
Real bad.
So if you hear the sniffles, that's what it is.
She is planning on sneezing on everyone tonight. Yes. And, Roxy Rocket is here with us as well. And, of course, I pulled up the wrong notes for tonight. So, yeah. And I just closed them thinking that was going to be a good idea. We are always just completely on point. We're always very professional around these parts. We never have these accidental moments of pulling up the wrong notes for a movie. I mean, honestly, we should be on TV. All right.
Professionals, dang it.
So professional. All right, so tonight we are talking about your most voted Western movie, which is Calamity Jane from 1953. And you know what I love is, I love that on the last movie chat we sat around talking, we're going to do a classic Western. This is going to be great. And then we had, pretty much, every single classic Western, and all of us were like, Calamity Jane! And we're like, yes, Calamity Jane!
Hey,
we could not stop our love of musicals, so here we go.
We'll revisit classic Westerns again.
We will. We'll get a spaghetti Western in there somewhere. Oh, we've got Katie Betts from Australia is here with us, as well as Dusty Cullen. Hello. No need to have watched the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, maybe we will convince you to see the movie. And if you have, feel free, as we talk, to put all your stuff in the comment section as we go. So yeah, let's talk about Calamity Jane. This is one of my, oh wait, we're not at that point. This is one of, no spoiling.
Follow the
outline. This week, giving us a little background information and fun facts about the movie is me. So I went down quite a few rabbit holes in this because there wasn't a lot of great little fun factoids about the movie and the filming itself. So I fell really into this hole of actually researching Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane. And I read up a lot of them when I was younger because I was obsessed with the Wild West. Because I don't know if anybody remembers that Brady Bunch episode where I think it's Peter falls in love with the stories of Billy. I don't know if it was Billy the Kid or whatnot. And then he had a dream about him being on a train where he got robbed. Well, I was just like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with them too. And it was this whole thing. So yeah, so I fell deep down the rabbit hole on this. So I'll talk a little bit about the movie and then I'm gonna go a little bit into the background. Calamity Jane is very, very loosely based on the real Calamity Jane's life. Obviously it is the Technicolor version of it. And I don't think the real Calamity Jane was singing musical numbers, but this one was indeed starring Doris Day. This was actually a vehicle for her. It was Warner Brothers' response really to not being able to get the rights to Annie's Got a Gun?
Get Your Gun?
Annie, Get Your Gun?
Annie, Get Your Gun, which is about Annie Oakley. They actually, MGM got the rights for it, and they did originally want Judy Garland to star in it, and they did try to rent Doris from Warner Brothers, but they wouldn't let her do it, and they ended up with Betty Hutton. And what's funny is that Howard Keel actually played, who was while Bill Hickok played the love interest in Annie Get Your Gun as well. And so one of the things that Warner Brothers did is in casting him, they were kind of like thumbing their nose up at MGM over it. But I think it was absolutely brilliant casting of the two. Howard Keel also, as some of you may or may not know, also starred in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. He played Adam. He was also in Kiss Me Kate. Did a lot of musicals because, that voice. Am I right? But interestingly enough, he also played Clayton on Dallas, if anybody remembers Dallas back in the 70s. And also starred Ellen Ann McLeary, who starred in, or co-starred in, a lot of just general like 70s and 80s TV shows. Like pretty much if you can name one from then, like Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Barney Miller, all those things, she had bit parts in them. But it didn't really seem like she made a lot of really big movies after Calamity. And it was directed by David Butler. And Doris actually says that, well, not only Doris, but Hedda Hopper said that this was probably the best picture that Doris had ever made. A lot of critics agreed with her. And even Doris herself said it was her favorite musical to film. The minute she heard the numbers, she was literally like dancing around her house and singing to them and absolutely fell in love with them. And one thing that's great about this movie, and I think it separates it from a lot of the other Doris movies, is she, even when she watched the dailies of the show, she was like, yeah, my voice is like super girly. It's really high. It just doesn't seem right. So she actually changed the tone of her voice, went into that deeper tone, and really went farther into that accent, which really gave Calamity, I think, a little bit of life there as well. The film was a success, rousing success. It also musically was a huge hit. In fact, Secret Love won the Oscar for Best Song, and it was actually inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999, selling about over 1 million copies. And in the movie, she recorded that entire song in one take. So, what I also love about Secret Love is actually an anthem, coming out anthem in modern times for the LGBTQ community. I'm sorry if I missed the letter. I feel really bad. I can't do acronyms at all. And she did a lot of her own stunts in this movie. And actually, if anybody remembers that point where she is hoisted up on the rope, she was actually up in that rope, and apparently the rope was really, really tight that she almost passed out at one point. And yeah, just a little bit of notes on the real Calamity Jane before we get into the meat of the movie. Because like I said, I could go down a rabbit hole on this. The real Calamity Jane was born Martha Jane Canary. She died at the age of 51. What I love about her story is that in the movie, you do get this feeling of her being kind of a caring person, especially when she goes and cares for that sick prospector, where we'll talk more about all that kind of stuff. But the real Calamity Jane was actually known for her kind deeds. She was always wanting to help take care of people. And I believe that actually came from the point of when she was 14, she lost both her parents. They were in Salt Lake City, Utah. She had a really rough upbringing, and she had about 5 siblings. So she had to take care of them. And not only that, she actually loaded up all her siblings and went from Salt Lake City to Fort Bridger in Wyoming. And it's not like getting in a car, you know, we're talking about getting in a carriage and making that trek. She was known to be an American frontierswoman and a professional scout. And just like in the movie, she was a teller of tales. She wrote her own autobiography. And the hardest thing about Calamity Jane is actually figuring out what is real and what is not real, because it is really difficult to tell what was a tale and what was actually real. We do know that she was was quite a bit of a sharpshooter and could do tricks on her pony, which is why she later appeared in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Now, there were some rumors that she really did actually have an intimate relationship with Wild Bill Hickok, but they are unfounded. But so much did she actually, can you tell I'm getting into like tour guide voice right now? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not only was she like talked about it so much, that was so much a part of her life, that when she died at the young age of 51, they actually buried her next to Buffalo Bill's body, and it was Wild Bill Hickok's body. And she did actually say that after he was murdered, that she was the one that actually went on a chase after his murderer and brought him to justice. But newspaper reports say otherwise, that townspeople actually caught up with the guy. So we don't know. But again, I could keep going on and on and on and on about it. But she was known to be wearing men's clothes, talking like a sailor, drinking like a sailor, and I think actually was a really good pairing for Miss Doris Day, if you've ever read any of her little like biographies about her. She was a bit of a sassy woman in that aspect. So just real quick, just going to catch up before I bounce back over to the girls. I want to catch up with everybody in the comment section. Let's see who else. Oh, Yolanda popped in on us, and sometimes I think you guys do this just because you know I can't pronounce things. Yecarnet, Yecartenat. Hi. Hi. We're just going to call you Y. Amber's here with us tonight as well. And, ooh, Miss Cherry Pip is here. Hello, lovely. Lizzie Violet's is here as well. She's really happy to have made it. It's been a while since she's been in the chats. We have missed you as well, my dear. And Amber says she was about to say tour guide voice. And Dave says, absolutely need to have you walking headset in front of a bus. Yes. Mary says she loves that it wasn't a true Western. All right, so we are going to go around the table and actually just do our overall thoughts as like what you guys thought in the movie. And if you guys have seen the movie, in the comment section below, let us know what your general thoughts are. Do you like the movie? Is it a favorite, or does it just make you cringe? Oh, Y says it's Tracy Tanner backwards. I think we had this the last time Tracy was here too.
I vaguely remember this.
Yes. Yeah. I've got to remember that. All right. Oh, Dave's back on his box game account. And I do have to say, my friend Dave did just start a new YouTube channel called Box Games, BOCKS. And if you like watching people make things, he makes inserts for games, and he actually makes extremely beautiful videos. Go check his channel out. I will leave it in the comment section below, or the description below. And who knows, I might even show up on his channel one of these days. Right, Dave? Right? All right, so I am going to start with the lovely JL, looking fabulous with the spoiler, new gorgeous haircut. Girl, did you like this movie?
Yeah, I loved this movie. I think a part of it is because it was a really well done musical. And sometimes, as much as you love like classic movies and classic musicals, sometimes there can be like rough points through them with that sort of transition of speaking dialogue to song. And I felt like it wasn't like this in this movie. And I think that the transition into song was done really seamlessly. Like it really made sense, and it flowed in and out really well. So sometimes musicals, you can sort of get to that point where you like hit another song and you're like, oh, it's another song time. And I didn't really feel that way about this. And I think the songs were done really well. So it really kind of kept you engaged. Like I kind of felt myself like kind of, watching it and bopping along with the songs. And, you know, so I really appreciated that aspect of it. I thought it was really funny. Doris Day's character, like Calamity Jane and Bill Hickok, that dynamic was really great. So it really kind of kept you intrigued because the whole time you're kind of like, is she going to end up with him? Is she going to end up with the soldier? And so it kind of like kept you, you know, into this. And then they bring Katie Brown in and you're kind of wondering like, now you got the two guys going after her. So, you know, I just think the whole progression of the movie was done really well. And I felt satisfied with the ending too, even though I think at a certain point you kind of like have that figured out who everybody's going to end up with, but it feels satisfied. It doesn't feel like cheesy or like, oh yeah, I saw that coming, or that's kind of like a letdown that's how they ended the movie. I think that it's sort of like from beginning to end, it was just a really great progression. And so I felt like coming off of it, like, man, I want to watch this again. Like right away, I was like ready to watch it again, but I had like car pickup to go to for the kids, so I couldn't watch it right away. But so I kind of felt like that's the mark of a really good musical, not just like a movie, but a musical, especially like when you're ready to watch it again, like right away, then that's like top notch, 2 thumbs up.
Yay! So 1 out of the 3 love it. Let's see if 2 out of 3 love it. Heather?
Potentially unpopular opinion time.
Scandalous.
Maybe. I have to say, I'm not sure if it's because I watched Annie Get Your Gun like way back when I was a little kid, but that's always, I love, it's one-time favorite genre of musical and classic film favorites. I'll watch all of them. Like, as corny, cheesy, it doesn't matter. I just want to watch them all because it's one of my favorite. Like, they're horrible. A lot of them are really, really horrible. But I think they all have this element of fun and freedom that you get that a lot of times you don't get in typical 40s and 50s movies, especially. They always have this kind of campiness to them that outside of like someone like Clear, like Bob Hope, Jerry Lewis, like it's got this element of humor that also can, you know, be a little bit more serious at times too. But this is not my favorite, and I'm of two minds about it, I guess, in a sense that I love Doris Day. I love her. She's always been one of my favorites. Like, I will again read everything about her. I love her. And so I love that she loved this film and enjoyed making it, but
I was like, I didn't enjoy watching it as much.
It's so cringy for me. I find it incredibly cringy. I don't think it like a lot of old films, I can overlook a lot of things, but I don't think it holds up in a lot of areas. Particularly, I don't connect either of the men at all. I feel like we don't like know them in the same way that we even know Katie. I feel like we kind of get a connection with Katie. She's one of my favorite characters in the film. But I feel like we don't get to connect with the men, and so I don't care who she ends up with. Like, it really doesn't matter to me. And I hate that because, again, I love Doris Day. I love Western musicals. But I just can't. I just don't connect so much to this one. I find that what's his name that plays Wild Bill, who's also in the other
Howard Keel.
Yeah, Howard Keel. I don't like his voice so much in this film, and I love his voice in Annie Get Your. I love his voice in Annie Get Your Gun, but I feel like it's forced in some. Like the first time he sings, I bust out laughing, and so this is not always a good sign when he was singing a love song. And I don't know why. I just don't connect as much with this film, and I hate how what's the other fella? See, I don't even care enough to know their name. I didn't even write them down, and normally I have notes. I don't like how he talks down to her so often. And I know that's really normal and standard and pretty customary for both of the time periods. But there's something about it to me that I just don't really like. And so because I like Katie so much, I don't want her to end up with him either. I have issues with him. like Calamity saved your life, and you're not even acknowledging the fact that she's played such a big part of your story. Anyway, so unpopular opinion, definitely not my favorite.
And it is okay. This is a safe space where you can share unpopular opinions. You might be infested with fleas, but outside of that, what are you gonna do? This was a childhood favorite of mine. I honestly have never seen Annie Get Your Gun, Annie Got Your Gun, Annie Has a Gun.
Get your gun.
So,
I know it, but I don't think I've seen it either.
Janie has a gun, Annie's got a gun, right? I don't know.
Annie, get your gun.
Annie, get your gun?
Annie, get
okay.
Yeah.
Annie, get your gun. I've never seen that one. And maybe I should, so I can kind of like, and Heather, you're not alone. Miss Cherry Pip says she agrees. Not a fave. Howard Keel is definitely underused compared to Seven Brides and Showboat. Tracy, she agrees with Heather as well. So Heather, you are not alone. And I don't know if having not watched this younger, would I have such an emotional tie to this movie? And I definitely do. I think the songs are absolutely brilliant. So many of the songs I love in this musical that it's hard for me to actually choose a favorite. To kind of go off of what Heather was saying, though, this movie to me has never been about the romance, though. I think the reason why I love this movie, to me, it was about a friendship between Katie and Calamity, because it's so many romantic movies, when you throw like love triangles or like friends who, like, it goes into this place that makes me feel so uncomfortable because I freaking hate love triangles. I hate them because somebody is always getting shit on really bad. And yes, it might be true to reality, but I'm not watching a movie sometimes for reality, especially if it's a musical, and to see that they had taken this idea of like, oh, he loves her and she loves him. No. And Katie was like, no, I don't want to hurt my friend. I don't want to do this. Like, she left town because that was what Calamity had asked her to. And every moment in this movie that is the most brilliant parts of this movie is when Katie and Jane interact. And I think that is one of the reasons why I love this movie so much. When I was watching it this time around, though, I started thinking about, like, if I was watching this from the outside, how would I feel about it? And I definitely feel like some choices made in the movie could be a little cringeworthy for some people, like just getting into it, such as, sarsaparilla and cigaretti and shikagi and all that kind of stuff. So I do see that I was a little like hokey in some aspects like that, but at the heart of it, every time I watch this movie, it just makes my insides feel good. Every time I see her, blossom in this movie, it just, I don't know, it just does something inside. But again, and I never remember the soldier's name. I think somebody said it was Danny, maybe. Danny. I never remember his name. It's Wild Bill Hickok, Calamity, and Kate. And that's pretty much what this movie to me centers around. Lizzie said, I'm not a fan of the movie. I love the music, but not the movie itself. The drag girl was funny. So yeah, I mean, I think people are kind of on that same page where some people, yeah, you're either going to love it or you're going to not so much like it. Mary is very upset. Mary Heron is very upset that it's not a true Western. Mary, I promise you, we will do a true Western. Don't you worry. It will come. It will
Next
come.
time we will
We
limit
will
it to true Westerns and
Yes.
not allow any.
Mm-hmm. We got to go with what's
extras.
voted up the most. So
yeah, we kind of let it fly this time around, and
the next time we won't. We will actually save this entire poll, and we will go through the Westerns again. All right, so next up is I want to find out what actually everybody's favorite song was from the blah, 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 musical. Yes, Mary. Mary says a true Western is New Mexico and Arizona. Yeah, the soundstage in California is not really a true Western setup.
Much.
I really kind of struggled with trying to pick what my favorite song was from this movie, and I wrote it down somewhere. Where did I write it down? Because I was like, I really sat and thought about it. Because it's Secret Love, because I sing it all the time. Oh, it's Windy City. The Windy City is mighty pretty, but she ain't got what we got. and I think it's because it's Chicago, number one. And number two is I legitimately, in my real life, sing that song randomly. Just like for whatever reason, we'll start busting out singing it. Not to say I don't do Secret Love as well, because I do. When I'm feeling like all like sad and nostalgic. My secret love. No, you don't want to hear me sing. But those are probably my favorite. But then, I don't know, the Black Hills. That to me was probably the moment in the film that felt the most real to me, as far as like, as JL was talking about with the music kind of integrating really, really nicely. And I think it had a lot to do with, there hasn't been many moments in my life, but there have been moments where we've not been in carriages riding a trail, but like hay rides back in the day when people would just start singing, Christmas caroling, all that kind of stuff. You're just with a group of people and everybody starts singing. I mean, not that long ago, we were on a bus in big old tour bus in Vegas and just randomly started singing songs. Of course, we might have been but it happens a lot. So Yolanda says the Chicago, she kept thinking of me when they would say it because she could hear me saying it. I don't think we've ever said Chicago though. Chicago maybe, but that's a different story. JL, sorry, I'm playing with my hair wrap. JL, what's your favorite song from the movie?
I think my favorite, I don't remember what it was called because I didn't look it up.
If you tell me the scene, I can probably tell you what song it was.
But it's the one where Calamity Jane and Wild Bill are singing about, like, I can do without you. What's that one?
Oh!
What it's called.
What is it called?
I think it's called I Can Do Without You.
I Can Do Without You.
It might be.
Yeah, I Can Do Without You.
Yeah, that one. I think that's my favorite because I really feel like it shows like their like friendship and that sort of, even though he doesn't really look at her that way, you can still kind of tell like there's a little like underlying, it's almost like it's done in a flirtatious way, but it's not. Like they annoy each other almost like in a flirty way. And I'm like, yeah, I've had those before. So I connect to that song because I'm like, I've had that person in my life where you're just like, they irritate you so much, but not in a bad way. It's like if they weren't in your life, you'd be empty. So that was my favorite because I feel like you really kind of see like the real dynamic between the two of them because
it's the whole Gilbert Blythe and Anne moment and the pulling of the pigtails and the carrot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heather's like, no, it's not.
I have thoughts on that song.
She's like, I hated that one the most.
It was the worst. How could you like that one?
But the reason why is because I feel like it's ripping off of Annie Get Your Gun and anything you can do, I can do better. And I think Betty Hutton in that song is brilliant. So I have a hard time. I even went back after I watched the whole movie. I went back and listened to just that song because I think I liked that song, and I was like, no, it's not it's not Betty Hutton, and like his voice is so much better in that song.
You want to know what's funny is Howard Keel actually says that after working with both Betty Hutton and Doris Day, I know this is like fighting words here, Heather. He said that he believes Doris would have made a better Annie.
No, I think it's not against Doris, other than her accent. I didn't like her accent either. Like, I guess maybe it's like it was too much.
I think it was all done purposefully, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
I feel like some of the things, it was so sort of over the top, but it was kind of done on purpose. Like you're not going to get Doris for Annie Oakley, and we're just going to kind of like almost throw poo on all these like musical westerns, and we're just going to sort of take it over the top and be like I kind of feel like that
character would have been that way almost. If you're going to take one that far, like I feel like it almost made her look really almost dumb, because not everyone was that way.
No, but I think because she was known for her tall tales and not really knowing what was truth and what was made up.
I liked that part. I liked her tall tales.
So I think that they sort of like played off of that and just sort of like amped it way up.
Maybe
yeah, and I do.
When I was a kid, I was called Calamity Jane because of my storytelling, so I want to connect with her, and I connect on that level. But I feel like they took something from her that I feel like she should have been able to keep. I don't know. Something about it. Just doesn't sit right with me, and I think
if it hadn't been, I think if they had done a Western about her, it probably would have been different. But the fact that they made it a musical, and musicals tend to be very like campy and over the top, and everyone's personalities are sort of like way overboard because it is a musical, and you have to make a reason for it to make sense for people to start busting out in song in the middle of a movie. Like, if you just have like these normal characters, I mean, think about like a John Wayne Western, like if they busted out music with as serious as they were, it would not make sense. So they have to take these characters and sort of make them way over the top.
Yeah, I do feel
for
like
the musical to make sense.
They took like, okay, like they almost sat down and said, we know these things about Calamity Jane. We know she was an alcoholic, so they made her drink only sarsaparilla in the movie. Like, very, very clearly almost made it a thumb to the fact that, like, our Calamity doesn't drink. And, like, the fact that she's illiterate into, like, this really, really harsh accent, which I don't even know where that came from. You know, I don't know what part of the country that accent particularly comes from. So I feel like they took all those little bits that actually were known about her and really like just super exaggerated them. And I do think there was a lot of like, with that familiar, now knowing that those two songs are so alike, is I think there was a lot of like weirdness going on between like the fact that Doris wanted that part, didn't get it, the fact that Warner Brothers wanted the rights to it and didn't get it, because after all of this, Doris Day actually records an album of all of the Annie Got Her Gun, Annie Get Her Gun.
You get your gun.
Annie, get your gun.
At this point, I'm just not gonna.
Jennifer's like, I don't even care. The other one.
But you know I'm gonna watch it now.
The one so that shall not be named.
See, that shall not be named.
It's like when you have like that person when you're trying to insult them, like, oh, I'm sorry, what was your name? Bridget? No, oh, okay. So this is Brenda. No, this is Belinda.
Barbara.
It's Samantha, okay?
Oh, good God.
Sorry, I derailed it.
That's okay.
So, but no, I mean, she recorded an entire album with all the songs from that musical. So, I mean, I really think there was a lot. Like, I would have loved to have known, like, all, like, fly on the wall scandally stuff around this. Really quick, though, hold on.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, Blanket Fort Adventures derailed me in trying to read Lizzie's comment to you. Heather, Lizzie's boyfriend wants to know, the brick wall, does it have a special finish on it? And if so, do you know what it is?
I do not. It came this way, but it's glossy, and I wish it were matte. These are original Acme bricks. They say Acme brick, and they're from 1909. What my whole house is.
I just listened to a Thinking Sideways podcast talking about cartoon conspiracies, and Acme played a role in it. Just kind of funny. Anyway, but I was derailed by the fact that Blanket Fort Adventure says, I don't know, I burst out in song just at the grocery store. It's a totally natural state of being.
Same. You don't have to have a reason.
Okay, let's just say people outside of this group of people.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've embarrassed my sister with singing Annie songs in public. Uniquely Madison is here. Yay! She's so glad. She said she almost missed it. She's happy to watch this time. Denise Marie is here as well. She says she wishes life came with its own background music, which is funny because, you know, it's kind of when you have your headphones in and you have like certain music playing, don't you kind of feel like it? Like you're like in your own movie, like I don't know. Apparently Rocky.
Like there's like a
When you're putting on your
musical. I don't even need headphones in. Like I'm in my head, there's constantly music going. So in my life, there is like a soundtrack going.
I'll get an MP3 going. Times. Mary Heron says her favorite song is "Please Don't Eat the Daisies." She said it a couple times. You're funny.
Pillow Talk, maybe.
I freaking love that movie, man.
I do too.
I'm trying to. I can't. Dark Rose. She said she liked a woman's touch and higher than a hawk and deeper than a well. Yeah. 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 All right. So, you know, really smooth transitions to our next question. What's your favorite scene in the movie? Or, Heather, for you, what's your least favorite scene in the movie?
There's plenty of good scenes in this film. Just overall. Overall, not my favorite, but my favorite scene, and like it's like continuing my inspiration for life, is when they're doing A Woman's Touch and they redo the cabin. That's my all-time. I forgot about it when I was watching it. I thought, oh, this is where my ideas all come from, because my idea is to be an old lady and have cabins and like Airbnb style, but then be like really cute. And that's where this idea came from, and I remembered it by watching this movie. I think they're precious, and I want to be the landlord for the cute Calamity and Katie cabins.
You're not alone. I was trying to find, somebody else said it earlier too, that their favorite was the cabin scene. Oh, Lily Roberts is here. Yay, hi. She adores us. We adore you.
My other favorite scene though, real quick.
Yes.
Is the beginning when Frances has to do the number as Frances. That's my other. Yeah. I love that moment. Like that to me is one of the funniest. See, to me, that's the over the top. That's perfect for this movie, and I feel like I wish Calamity matched that level instead of like this level.
I love how into it he was at first.
I know,
like, and then he was like, "I'm totally down with this."
I love him. I think he's one of my all-time favorite, like secondary, like characters in the film. I think every little moment that he's in it, like the way he's dressed and the way he's always like, I'll go get the stage, you know, like, because he knows what's going on. Like, I love him as a secondary character. Anyway, that's my other favorite scene. And I need those green and black boots.
Yeah. Mine, I feel like it's a theme, but I love the cabin. I love the cabin. I actually really, I know I'm cheating because I'm not just picking one. I also really love when Katie actually does her performance as Katie. That's one of my favorite choreographed routines. Even outside of like some of Doris's dancing, I really love Katie's choreography. But my favorite is when she goes to Chicago. And it's just like this idea of like, well, number one, I find it amusing, the photograph they use for Chicago, where there's kind of a lake in the background. So they're like, well, it's Chicago, there's a lake in the background, so it'll pass. But yeah, no, that was not Chicago. But I love when she walks up to that plate glass window and she's like, scalps, a massacre. Or a massacre. And then she gets spooked by the wooden Indian, Native American. I'm just like, really? She's a sharpshooter from the West. She's not going to be afraid, you know, or thrown off by a wooden Native American standing there. And you know what? I guess I probably should have said this at the top of the chat. Obviously, whenever we are talking about movies that are older movies, they are not as politically correct as we are today. And we do know that some of these movies kind of touch on subjects that can be a little touchy, and it can bring up some feelings of inequity in that. And we completely understand that. And we understand that, and I think we all see that in the movies. We also, all three of us, have discussed in the past that we think it's really important for these things to stay in the movies and they not be washed out, because we do need to show how things were back then. So just a little PSA onto that, especially as I'm talking about this moment in the film. But yeah, that was just my favorite. Like, and then when she goes to like talk Adelaide into coming, like just that whole entire scene, and Katie being like, can I do this? Oh, I could do this. Could I do this? You know, I love it. All right. And I will say that one of my favorite costumes, which I know is, I'm jumping around. Okay, no, I'm not going to jump comments. Okay, JL, what about you?
Okay, this is hard because I was kind of torn between two scenes. But the cabin scene with Katie and Calamity was probably my favorite because, and I think the reason why is that really up until then, there were no other female characters in her life. It seemed like the entire town was male. And she obviously just sort of lived her life patterned after how the men did. And she didn't really they kind of teased her because she was a woman, but I don't think she took it that way. You know, she was just they're teasing me the same way. She wasn't interested in them and they weren't interested in her. So she didn't really care that she wasn't wearing a dress or being hit on. So,
scared me a little bit.
The voice behind the door. So I loved that at first Katie was sort of she sees the cabin and she's like, ugh. And then she kind of realizes when Calamity is sort of well, I'm never going to be able to be a real woman, that she realizes okay, like this is my opportunity to like help her. And she wasn't trying to make her into something that she wasn't. She was just helping her like be girly and like be a woman and like tap into that part of her, you know, like when she's going through the dresses, she doesn't pick out like the most over the top one. And you see Calamity's wardrobe change. She goes from like these dingy, like dirty, never washed outfits to that plaid shirt and pants. And I was like, that's so not era like correct, but I'm totally down with it. And I need that outfit real, real bad. You know, so she just sort of like helped her kind of like tap into like she can be a woman and it's okay, even though she has had like zero like female influence in her life. And so that's kind of what I liked about it. She wasn't trying to give her like this glamour makeover. She was just helping Calamity Jane like kind of, you know, be a little more because she's like she was alone because nobody paid attention to her, not because she wanted to be alone. So that's what I really like appreciated from that. And I think that it's like hilarious that there's just like this random bucket of like greenish yellow paint hanging out. I was like, that is the most like modern bucket of paint. But okay.
We'll
just go with it.
Well, you know, it was funny. At one point, I was like,
down
"Is
with
that
the
a
neon
paper
green
towel?"
Yeah.
Paper towel.
I swear she used a paper towel to wash off the windows.
Yeah.
Okay, so just checking up with everybody in the comment sections. Okay. I had it, and then Dark Rose 1870 said she loves a woman's touch, and when Bill is dressed as a woman with a baby, when he loses the bet and he's up there, it's a squaw holding the baby. Blanket Fort Adventure says, ha ha ha, that's how I feel when I watch the unsinkable Molly Brown, all my Colorado cabin dreams. I know HGTV should take a look at some of these movies. And Dark Rose 1870 also says in the Chicago film when the woman with the big bustle butt, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Ridiculous. Uniquely Madison says she does also find it funny when they try to pass off places that are clearly not those places, which they did not always, but a lot of the time. And again, love the PSA and totally agree. Mickey Rooney even stated he was ashamed of playing Mr. Unishow. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong because, again, I can't pronounce names after being woke, but you have to have these moments to not repeat them. Dark Rose also says she's one of the guys. Also someone to tell her to not wear the bloomers on her arms.
Yes, I love that. That was just like so perfect. She's like, no. No.
I feel like JL has done that to me on an occasion. So I've been like,
and she put them on, and I was like, actually, like, that could work. But no.
I know I expected her to start doing like a cha-cha routine or something with them maracas. Mary Heron said she didn't have a mom to show her. And again, that goes back to, even though this is such a loosely based on her life, no, Calamity Jane did not. Her mother, and by all accounts, her mother might have even done a lot of prostitution as well. So, and she died even before her father did. So maybe around like 10 or 12 years old, she lost her mom. So she didn't have a mother figure. I was looking up pictures of the real Calamity Jane, and there was only one I could find where she actually was in a dress. And I did find that the dress, even though not Technicolor dress, again, I do feel like what JL was saying, like they totally changed her clothes, but they still kind of kept it true to who she would have been as a person. And so it wasn't like, like the 80s makeover movies where they're like, oh my God, she's a popular girl.
Yeah.
Nerd again. You know, so it was a much more realistic like makeover of like you stay who you are, but you can also have that touch of femininity with you.
I think that's why Katie's one of my favorite characters, because she doesn't try to change her really. Like, and that's why I love her in the film. And there's so many times when even in a more modern movie, they would have taken it and tried to really force something on her, especially from Katie's perspective. And I like that they didn't do that. They kind of just let her explore a little bit in that world. So I did really appreciate. I just like Katie. She's my favorite.
Also, since we're kind of already touching on those subjects, let's talk about costumes real quick. Because I will say, personally, one of my all-time favorite thing about this movie was the costuming. It's really hard for me to pick out a favorite costume because I pretty much love them all. I love Doris's yellow dress when she falls in the mud in. I love the neckline on that dress. I love that yellow on her because it's so hard for somebody to wear complete yellow. And I think that plaid dress, it's just everything. Everything about this movie. Even the showgirls and the people in Chicago, and even a lot of the cowboys, the way they dress, I just really, really liked it. Now, I would have liked to have seen things dirtied up a little, but it is Technicolor, so you can't have anything dusty in Technicolor. Though they did bow to it in Calamity's hat. The top of it was a little bit dusty. Just a little bit. And a little bit of her pants was a little dusty.
One thing that I noticed that I was like, oh no, is during the cabin scene when they start to clean up, there was so much dust that if you watch Katie's dress, the bottom hem would be like covered in dust. And I was like, oh no, her dress is covered in dust.
But it added that realism, but it did make you a little anxious. Yeah. But I will say this, my favorite outfit was actually Adelaide. When she was putting on she had like this, it was that sage like green, not quite sage, but it had like a sash on it, and then she put this coat on that had fringes, and it was so patterned, but it was like a cape, and it had the hands sticking. Oh, it is everything. I want to create that little jacket so bad. And I want to put a bustle on something. So, yeah. Heather, what was your favorite? I know you already talked a little bit about the green and black. Any more favorites?
Yeah, actually, the plaid dress that Katie wears, I love that plaid. Like, oh, that's my favorite. That's like my next coveted thing. And I love that they had like the 50s collars on everything. If I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about these films is that they're vaguely true to time period. But my all-time favorite is the very end, when Calamity's wearing, it's like the lighter suede suit, and it's got the white blouse, the black tie, and then she puts the jacket on, and with the fringe, and I need the hat, I need all of that to be in my life. That's my favorite.
The riding pants.
I would wear all of that.
I didn't have those riding pants, but that's cute.
Of course they didn't. Her boots, like those were not like authentic. But I personally want all of that to be on my body. That's my favorite, and I love the fact that it was like a little bit of an upgrade from her like full-on deerskin suit, but it was still her. Like she was still wearing pants, and like I liked that like you see, like she's not in this full dress at the end. She's still in her pants and her boots and her hat, and she's got her gun, but she's just had this little upgrade, and it's perfect, and I love that part.
All right, JL, what about you?
I don't know that I have a favorite. There's a few things that like I love. Like when Adelaide's done performing the cape robe that they put on her.
The pink.
When she's walking back. Yeah.
It's got the thing. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I love that. I was like, I want that really bad. Real bad.
Cool.
I love Katie, like goes from Chicago, like big city, and everything that she would be wearing there, to like all of a sudden she has these like prairie appropriate dresses like out of the blue, plus her like Chicago gowns. So I kind of like love that. And again, I love what they do with Calamity after she gets her like makeover. But she has like this balance in her wardrobe of separates, like pants still and separates, but she still has dresses, but dresses that aren't like so over the top that you would be like, I don't think she would wear that. Like I love her like pink moment at the ball. I kind of think that that's great because she's still sort of walking in her like kind of stiff guy sort of mannish, I don't know, like tough woman walk, but she's in like this soft pink with like the organza thing coming around her and all the flowers in her hair, but she's like, come on, let's go, you know, like I love that they keep that contrast and with her character, you know, the yellow dress, you're like, oh, I love that yellow dress. And then she comes in and she's like, I fell in the creek. And I love that she calls it a creek because I have known people in my life with a really thick Southern accent that use the word crick. So that's a real thing.
We got crick. A crick is not a creek. My grandma had a crick through her front yard.
So, I love that it's like muddy, but she comes in and she's like, oh, well, and she's like wiping her face off. Like it wasn't this moment where she's like, oh, the men are here, the love of my life, and I'm dirty. She's like, oh, hey, how's it going? And she's like mud on her face. And she's like, oh, you have to ask Katie to the ball. You know, I love the costuming and I love that they keep her with it. So I know it's not like my favorite, but I can't pick one. I think it's impossible with this movie to just pick one.
I feel like that's how I feel with a lot of it as well. It's so hard to pick just one thing about this movie that's it for me. Yolanda said she really liked the blue hat with the bird when Kate was coming in. So gorgeous. Just that whole velvet dress. All I could think of is how hot that thing must have been. Because like the vest underneath it was velvet too. Oh, I'm just getting sweaty thinking about it.
And a stage coat. Oh, cool. Or wearing it.
Amber says she loves the big bustle booty. Dark Rose says her favorite was Calamity's wedding dress. And Katie Irwin said her maiden name is Brown, so she loved it because her name was in it. You, my friend, are Heather's favorite character. Yeah. Uniquely Madison says she has to go, but she was so happy to stop by. So we're so happy you were able to make it. And then we're gonna go around the table really quick to do the dreaded question that everybody secretly loves, and that is, who could this movie do without, and who could it not? And if you are going to, no, not if, when you take that person out, you have to recast that person. I'll start because whatever, I'm gonna steal. You know what's so funny is I never think about this beforehand as far as the recasting every single time. But I will say this movie cannot be done without, and I can't think of her real name, without Katie and without Doris. Those two characters have to be there because, again, as I said, this movie to me is all about those two women, all about their friendship. It's all about, to me, staying true to who you really, really are. And like we've already touched on a lot from Heather and JL is this idea of, yeah, you can change a little bit, but at heart, you still have to say who you are to really be happy. So that it was always the message to me, and I absolutely, absolutely love that. So it has to stay there. And honestly, I know this was not everybody's favorite part for Howard Keel, but I love his voice so much. Like every time that man opens his mouth to sing, like the Black Hills, like it always, I'm like, it's so deep and pleasant and melty. Like every time, like I don't expect it because his speaking voice doesn't clue you in. You have no clue. It's not like it talks like this, and then goes into like this really deep, warm singing voice. So to me, Bill has to stay Bill. And honestly, until he starts singing The Black Hills is the part where I really start to notice him as a character. Everything up until then, yeah, he's there, and him and Calamity are having their moment. But at that moment in the carriage and forward is really where I recognize him as a character. Oh, and I'm just gonna stick this in really quick because I had it in my notes, and I thought it was such a good little note. But when Bill scolds Calamity in the carriage about her selfishness and her behavior and all that, does anybody else think of when Emma got scolded by Mr. Knightley and Jane Austen?
That's a good point. There are a few, like, a little bit of, he could have, I feel like he could have been in a Jane Austen, like, film. I think he would have, sorry, I'm pointing at you because I can't think of his name. Yeah.
Howard Keel, yeah. So I mean, I do think that there was some like even at some points it's kind of like when they were arguing in the beginning, I'm like, this is kind of like Taming of the Shrew, you know. So I feel like there's just some, and maybe it's just a writing trope that you kind of fall into, and maybe it wasn't intentional to kind of call back to more of this classical storytelling, but so honestly, the person I would recast. I feel like this is such a cop-out, but like the soldier dude that we can't remember his name. I'm sorry, he needs to be recast. And I don't know. How about oh God, what was the guy's name? I would recast him. The guy, Gordon Macrae, the guy who played Curly in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Now that would have been a battle between voices, between looks. I mean, come on. You guys can't do better than that. Talk about Jail. What do you got?
Okay, so this was kind of hard for me. For me, like Doris Day is like no touchy, like she stays. So what was kind of hard for me with this being a musical is that I needed it to be someone that played a believable, like, Western character. And there's a lot of actors who really did, like, Westerns really well. And then there's actors who didn't do Westerns very well. So I had a hard time because I couldn't really think of somebody who could like sing and be a believable Western actor at the same time. Even like modern, I was sort of like, I just couldn't really pick somebody. So I kind of went through like my favorite Western movie actors. And so I just kind of pulled from there. I don't know if they can sing, but I felt like for the character, it probably really didn't matter anyway. So I thought if you leave the dude that was Wild Bill in and then changed the soldier to Gary Cooper, because he's one of my favorite like Western actors. Like if I was Calamity and I had to pick between Gary Cooper as the soldier dude and Wild Bill, like that would be real hard. Because I just think like him in Western wear is phenomenal. So yeah, that's who I would do.
I think that's really good because honestly, I do really think had they cast, because somebody else, Dark Rose, was saying the same thing Heather said, how she said like that soldier, he just kept rubbing me the wrong way. And honestly, I think in one scene he was rubbing Katie the wrong way.
Well, I think because he didn't really care I think he knew Calamity. Everybody knew Calamity had a thing for him and sort of like claimed him, but he really never reciprocated it. And so he was just like, whatever.
But that character could have been done so much better, though. Like, even, like, when he was reading the letter at the end, he was such a jerk. Such a jerk.
Yeah.
So I think had they cast him better, then maybe this film would have been more about, like, all four of them.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I do love it being more about the Doris
and Katie
thing. I see Heather's looking down.
That's because she said Gary Cooper, and now I'm.
Now she's got to one up me. Whatever, Heather.
I don't think I can. I'm trying to think of his name now. But honestly, I had written down, but I don't know who she would replace. But it's so funny because I originally, when rewatching it, thought, I would have really loved to have seen Judy Garland play one of these characters. And so it's really funny because I didn't read anything about like the background of anything. So I think it's interesting that that was kind of the original intent. But then that didn't play out.
Of Annie get her gun.
Annie, yeah. So it's funny that she never really got to play, that particular kind of character. And so it's fun. Like when I was watching, I thought, I wonder if I would have enjoyed, because I don't think she would have taken it as over the top as Doris Day. But I can't see her playing that character. I can see her playing Katie more, and I think she would have been an adorable Katie. But I actually really loved this. I don't know. So the girls, for me, I would have loved to see Judy in a role like this, but I don't think I could replace either of them. So then I had written Gary Cooper down, and now I'm just angry.
So.
But what about, like, I'm trying to think of, I can't think of the guy's name.
I have like a list of 50 up, so.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I also was thinking James Garner as well.
IMDb has like the top, like, I don't know, it's either like 20 or 50 like Western movie actors.
The Gunsmoke guy. That's who is in my brain.
Who is it?
The Gunsmoke guy. He can't sing, so that just knocks him off.
Well, it doesn't matter because in our minds he could if we wanted
or like
to. Guns.
Like him, like I feel like it needs to be somebody who's like a good person, and I feel like the guy who played Danny,
James Arness.
Is that his name?
He played Marshall Matt Dillon.
Yeah. That's who I'm thinking of.
James Arness.
Or like Chuck Connors. What else was he? What was he in? What was Chuck Connors in?
See, I should have not have actually looked it up because everybody else that was on it before me. We just have a knowledgeable group of people. Lizzie said James Arness. Mary Heron says Judy was too sick to play Annie. I did read that she also did not like Bugsy Bugsy, the director for Annie Got Her Gun. Got her gun. I don't know.
Just call it Annie.
Annie.
The first Annie movie.
Miss Cherry Pip said Ricky Nelson could be the soldier and he can sing.
Oh, I would be down for that. Any of the Nelson boys.
Yolanda said Jane Russell could play Katie if she was replaced. James Arness.
Okay.
Matt, where's mine? Now we know why she married him.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Cherry Pip also said she could see Jane Powell as Calamity. Katie says Danny was a little bit of a puss. Yeah. In a nice way. What was so funny is Yolanda was saying, I think it was Yolanda was saying something about the soldier being really small. But, Keel was very tall that a lot of his leading ladies had to stand on milk crates. Mm-hmm. The guy that played Frank in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers would be a good Danny the soldier. I think honestly at this point probably anybody could be a better Danny the soldier.
Pick someone and replace.
I think Mickey Rooney would be been a better choice.
See, okay. I have the list up, and somebody just like popped out to me because the soldier was such a jerk. I actually think that he could have worked, and he's like Dean Martin. Dean Martin did like one or two westerns, and it's kind of like these weird little crossovers. But because of how like kind of cocky and arrogant he was, and his characters usually were, had Dean Martin been the soldier and been that jerk, I think we would have been like, that's okay. Not that it was okay.
Yeah.
Was he supposed to be a jerk?
I don't know. I don't know if that guy was just a bad actor and just came across sleazy and jerky.
I don't know.
Because Katie's a nice girl. Why would she fall for somebody like that?
Exactly.
I think the way that I looked at it was, it sort of reminded me of the like nerd at school that like follows the jock around, and the jock sort of is like sort of nice-ish and throws the girl a bone here and there, but really isn't like that nice to her, but she just sort of like keeps coming back because like she's so like every once in a while he does sort of like give her a little bit of attention. Like that's the relationship that I got from the two of them, that she was just sort of like, this is like the man of my dreams, and every once in a while he talks to me. So, you know, even though like he was a jerk, she could like beat him up. So it didn't really matter.
Then why was he with I guess that's my problem with it. Like, I'll buy you as a jerk and then she leaves you, or like she forgets about you, but then my sweet Katie gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
I
like to just think that he was a bad actor.
Okay.
I feel
because
like it was just
you
like,
know
that was their relationship and not necessarily like maybe necessarily who he was overall.
It was still in there.
I know.
Yeah, but like that
weird
moment at the dance when they were outside and he came up behind her and he's like, darling, and he like pushes himself up against her. It just came across like really like some dude like grinding up and against you at a club, you know, rather than like the guy like you're really into.
Because he's a soldier. You know, and what girl is not going to fall for a dude in a uniform? Like, let's
Poor
just
Katie.
get real.
We do. Katie
was young and naive.
Hashtag replace him for Katie. Save Katie. Save Katie. Katie said Katie said he was too damn pushy. Dark Rose said that would have been the case if he's mean, but he's hot. David said, well, that's depressing. Amber says, it's just him. Katie says, I think Danny was intimidated by Clam. She was a strong, independent woman, and in those days they wanted a girl like Katie who was more gentle and soft-spoken.
Well, yeah, I mean, he clearly said that like 14 million times in this movie. That's just like...
Yeah. Because you even see, like, when she has her pink... When Calamity has her pink moment at the ball, even for a minute, he was sort of like, Danny, like, can't take his eyes off of her. And for a moment, you almost think, like, he's going to ditch Katie, the love of his life, the woman he wants to marry, and go for Calamity. But he doesn't. Because he really loves Katie.
Well, but then he's, like, trying to break up their... Well, Calam can be your bridesmaid. And you look better in a dress. Like, he's...
Yeah.
Well, I think that was... She was like, well, what about Calamity? And he's like, well, she can be your bridesmaid. I think basically what, like, Jane... Or Katie was still like, but, like, Calamity's in love with you. Like, what are we going to do? And he's kind of like, I don't have those feelings for her. Like, instead of just being like, I don't have those feelings for her, he's like, a jerk about it.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, this is probably even going on for like years and years and years. So he's probably done with like trying to like be nice and like spare her like Calamity's feelings, because he's probably did that in the beginning, like, I'm really not, and Calamity's like, no, I picked you, you're my man. She's got like this like caveman syndrome when it comes to him, like, I'm gonna knock him over the head and like drag him to my cabin. You know? I
do like that Wild Bill actually stood up for Clam when he was kind of like, you know, smack talking her. And he's like, you'd be lucky to have her. Dave's turning into a pumpkin. So have a good night. Cinderella will be by soon. Yeah, pumpkin carriage.
See, Mrs. Flipper.
Bad joke. All right. All right. Dark Rose says it's interesting that she said that Katie got the short end of the stick when he pulled the long straw and he said he won. All right. I am going to, it is 10:17, so we are actually overtime, which we do a lot because this is fun. She will, but she's at game night. Oh, she will be home soon. So Mary Heron has been suggesting, because she wants to make sure I see it, that we do an old Halloween movie, no B graded, aka Blob or Creature from the Black Lagoon. So there are requests to do something scary related. We might with the scary season coming up. Let's talk about that. Do we know what we want to do for next month? Do we want to do something more on the scary-ish side of things? We'll pass it by the boy, Heather, to make sure it's not too scary.
Do we want to do that for September or?
Yeah, we probably want to keep that for October. So what say you as to September? What should we do in September? Do we want to do a drama? Because I feel like we just did like murdery mystery kind of thing with Hush Hush, horror-y.
Gidget. So we've kind of done
Gidget.
lighter. The last two were kind of
lighter.
So I guess like a good old-fashioned drama.
You know what? We'll do spooky for October. Katie says we did do well, we kind of covered Auntie Mame when we did the Lucille Ball trifecta. Katie's got to, let's do a Jane Russell movie. I've never actually seen a Jane Russell movie.
What do we got? I'm down for Jane Russell.
Yeah. All right. I like that. I like doing it based on an actor, actress versus doing it on a genre. Either a pre-code or maybe Barbara Stanwyck. Oh, no, I don't know. All right. We're going to throw up suggestions for both Jane Russell and Barbara Stanwyck movies for
September.
Yes, really, for September. Or a pre-code Dick Powell movie like Gold Diggers. Is Heather going to be okay with this? Oh, the spooky? We always pass it by her man to make sure that it's Heather approved. Because
I haven't seen any scary movies because they scare me.
And I don't do like straight up horror gore or supernatural. So
be creative.
Those are like my
Well, I already have a suggestion
sort of
for
like mine, like no-goes.
October, and mine's gonna be House on Haunted Hill because it's one of my favorite movies ever. Because I love Vincent Price.
That's a good one.
Ooh, we're gonna need to do a Hitchcock soon too. All right, so next month will be either Jane Russell. You can't throw another one in on me. You can't do that. No, Jane Russell, or we have done noir. We've done one noir. We did Maltese.
Laura,
that was it. Okay, not yet for the spooky. save the scary stuff. We're going to do that in October. We're going to do next month. It's either going to be Jane Russell or Barbara Stanwyck. Follow us over on our Facebook page for vintage Facebook group, Classy Chicks Vintage Flicks. JL will post up the little suggestion and just start piling your suggestions under there, because unfortunately we lose all of the chat. So any good suggestions that are made here, we will lose. And I know Mary will have some good suggestions for Barbara and Jane, but I want to you guys, I love you guys so much. They're just rolling in already with the suggestions. But thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. We will be back next month to discuss another movie. And what movie that is will depend on you guys. So head over to that Facebook page, as I mentioned, and we will post that in the description box below if you want to join that group. Next week, we're going to be putting your suggestions up to a vote. So we'll give it about a week. We say a week, but it's usually 2. And then we'll be announcing our next movie. If you miss our faces, in the meantime, be sure to follow us on all the social medias. You can find JL as Modern Retro Gal, Heather is How to Be Fancy, and me as a Vintage Vanity. Have a great night, you guys, and keep it classy.
That was a really great, like, Turner Classic movie.
I know. I love it. We have a tagline.
Oh.
Keep it classy.
Keep it classy.
You had your Ron Burgundy moment. Yay.
All right, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.